Support comes from O'Neill Hartman Insurance, a full-service, third-generation, locally owned agency focusing on building personal relationships and providing professional service to individuals and businesses. Information on the web and on Facebook. Support comes from Dean Heating and Cooling, keeping homes cool all summer with Tempstar. Dean Heating and Cooling provides HVAC service and installation in the Athens area, featuring Tempstar quality you can feel. Additional support from Donato's Pizza, featuring pizza, subs, salads, and catering from their Athens location at 688 East State Street. Information at donatospizza.com or 740-592-5049. Support comes from Ohio's 529 College Advantage, helping families save tax-free for college and career training nationwide for 35 years. Information on Ohio's 529 can be found at collegeadvantage.com/Bobcats.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time for some Week 3 football action, and the games tonight did not disappoint. So grab a seat and get comfortable because we're going to get this train rolling. I'm your host, Donovan Varney, and our first stop this week actually isn't in the SEO. It takes us all the way into West Virginia for a rivalry that withstood the test of time. The 88th rendition of the Battle of the Bridge between Gallia Academy and Point Pleasant was tonight, and, well, we've got the latest for you, all right? Last year's edition was taken down to the wire, but for this year, each team welcomed a new head coach, and they're both alumni, so they know exactly how much the Battle of the Bridge means. So back in their playing careers, Gallia Academy's Dalton Jarrell played receiver and corner, and Point Pleasant's James Higginbotham played defensive tackle and guard. Higginbotham went 1-1 against Gallia in 1986 and 87, but for Jarrell, this will be his first time at the varsity level playing point, as there was no Battle of the Bridge when he lettered in 2009 and 2010. But this year, they'll be in charge from the sidelines, and they are our two new head coach ready to go. And there's that trophy that we all know and love. You're going to see in just a second. There it is, the 88th year, and it's Point Pleasant getting us started. Caden Hill making things happen with the 1-yard QB keep, and it's 7-0. Now, on Gallia's first possession, Max Kennedy to Parker Burris, 24 yards and a big hit for Burris, but it's nothing for him. 7-7 end of Point's next possession. Here's Alex Blair on a punt return, and if anybody is going to put on a show, it's that guy. 71 yards down the sideline, making this look easy. This puts the Blue Devils up a quick 14-7. Next, an onside kick recovered by Gallia, and here's QB Max Kennedy showing off on the ground, and this puts him in a good position to get another beautiful pass to Burris. From 34 yards out, it's Gallia Academy in charge late in the second quarter. Blue Devils up one score out of halftime, and they say, why not add one more? It's Kennedy to Blair. Too fast for that Black Knight defender all the way to the end zone, 28-14 Gallia, and it's not just the Blue Devil offense making plays. This red zone defense was no joke. This play was part of a fourth down stop, but the Black Knights did get back down there the next possession after Gallia's special teams mistake, scoring 6 with 9 minutes left in the game, but the Blue Devils held them off until the end. Hard-fought battle, but Gallia takes the Battle of the Bridge back 28-21. So, obviously, sounds like this year's edition.
They played with a lot of grit tonight, backs against the wall sometimes, and they just kept fighting all game. So, every week it's going to be a battle in the OVC, so we got to just bring it every single week, and we can't let anything stop us.
So yeah, obviously, sounds like this year's edition of the rivalry really lived up to the expectations because these offenses both put on a show and both were led by their quarterbacks. This season was Kennedy's first start, and he proved he could do it all during the preseason. The Blue Devils told me that he's a dynamic player, and tonight he certainly showed he can make plays from outside the pocket. Caden Hill for the Black Knights played well through the air and on the ground, but ultimately it was Kennedy that won the battle tonight. So, like I mentioned, it was a close game, and you might be wondering, what did Point Pleasant do to fall behind? And they were just simply outplayed by Gallia. They had their fair share of mistakes this game, but bounced back just like any team would want to. We talked about this red zone defense making big plays. The Blue Devils never backed down, and when the momentum shifted to Point, they made plays that switched it right back. And some of the players that stood out tonight were Alex Blair. He was Kennedy's right-hand man most of the night, and when in doubt, give the ball to Parker Burris. He had some impressive catches throughout the game. Looking back on those 2 touchdowns, and it gets better and better every single time. Those two shined very bright this evening. So down to the wire again, but Honestly, we wouldn't have expected anything less for these two teams. Well, our next game features an 0-2 team trying to capture their last chance at a non-conference win, but on the other hand, an undefeated SVC squad that is smashing any opponent in their way. While Amanda-Clearcreek and Zane Trace have had opposite starts to the year, Charlie Elenfield joins us to explain why this was a battle.
Yeah, thanks, Donovan. Despite starting 2-0, Zane Trace is not looking past the 0-2 Aces.
We're not overlooking Amanda-Clearcreek at all. They had a really nice year last year. They have a lot of really good players back. A storied program that's had a lot of success, and we know have a lot of pride in their athletics, especially football program. And we're aware who they played. And yeah, it's this. No part of us at all is looking at their record and thinking that Amanda's any less than what they are.
Amanda-Clearcreek is one season removed from a playoff appearance and a 6-5 record.
Yeah, and the Pioneers have not beaten the Aces once, despite meeting 13 times since 1975. Taking a look at this matchup, these teams have just incredible rushing attacks.
Yeah, while the Aces have started slow, Bodie Martin and Tommy Steyer are on par with the Pioneers duo of Bryce Johnson and Jaden Higgins. But for Chet Saw and Amanda-Clearcreek, they need to win one key battle.
Thanks, turnovers. We've lost turnover battle week 1, week 2. We still had a turnover that kind of took away some points. So, and the big thing about Zane Trace, they're causing a ton of turnovers. I know Logan Elm put the ball on the ground, I think they said 7 times.
2-0 and firing on all cylinders, the Pioneers had home field against the winless Aces. But it was those Aces who quickly flipped the script. Gunnar McCullough under pressure, and 2 Aces bring him down. 3 and out early for Zane Trace. Bodie Martin takes advantage of the short field to cut right into the red zone, and they would use that to immediately capitalize. Tommy Steyer going on the outside, and he finds the corner to give the Aces an early 7-0 lead. Pioneers looking to respond, but a swarm of Aces force a fumble, and Boston Fowler falls on it. Short field again for Amanda, and they would waste no time. Short yardage, and Bodie Martin, the last thing you want to see as a defender. He goes over the top for 6, and the official confirms it. Amanda-Clearcreek up 13-zip after a missed PAT. Next Zane Trace possession, McCullough catches the entire Aces defense by surprise, and Martin Hartley is in his own zip code, but they cannot connect, inches from a game-changing play. McCullough nearly makes an incredible throw, but Ryder Smith makes a last-second save before crashing into your living room, promising drive over. Amanda-Clearcreek continues the downhill momentum. A bit of trickery gets Mason Williams wide open, 19-0 Aces. Zane Trace had a strong start to their final drive of the half. What a punishing run from Bryce Johnson. But the Aces were too much in the red zone, pressuring McCullough on 4th and long, and the pass falls incomplete. Amanda dominated the second half, and the Aces hand Zane Trace their first loss of the season, 25-7.
Wow. Well, okay, so the 0-2 Aces beat the 2-0 Pioneers, but both schools knew this was bigger than their record tonight.
You're exactly right, Donovan. Coach Somm said there was no extra urgency this week, and they played their brand of football to perfection.
Really a fantastic running back battle tonight. You were just talking about it. Tommy Steyer and Bodie Martin for Amanda-Clearcreek, and Bryce Johnson and Jaden Higgins for Zane Trace. But what separated the Amanda ground game tonight?
The interesting thing about these teams is how they get it done on the ground. Amanda-Clearcreek, as Coach Somm pointed out to me this week, loves to unload the box. This helps them clear out blockers for pitches and puts fewer guys in the way when they run it up the gut. Zane Trace's style of loading up the box allowed them to steamroll Waverly and Logan Elm, but against the stout front 7 of the Aces, it led to Higgins and Johnson getting stifled all night long. Yeah, we know Zane Trace was great at forcing turnovers. We talked about it on the pregame huddle. We saw it the last 2 weeks, and they had 9 turnovers in the 2 games before tonight, but Amanda was the one who won the turnover battle tonight. Yeah, that was Coach Somm's #1 priority, and they worked all week in practice to prepare. You saw the Pioneer fumble earlier. The Aces swarmed to the ball all night, and they schemed against Zane Trace's main disruptors like Blake Browers and Hudson Williams.
Right, but this might not be the last time these two teams square off. Both are in Division 5 Region 19, so maybe a playoff appearance in the future?
This game was a huge sigh of relief for the Amanda faithful, and you're exactly right, this might be a playoff matchup. After 2 tough losses, the Aces dominate on the road against a team that was top 6 in their region. Amanda-Clearcreek has a tough conference ahead, but this squad is already battle-tested. The Pioneers got started slow tonight, however, they have valuable experience for the tournament. Amanda-Clearcreek gets momentum for their first home game of the season against conference champ Bloom Carroll next week.
Yeah, big-time win for the Aces tonight. Thanks for the good work, Charlie. Now, it's that time. Let's see how you all voted on that one at home. Only 23% of you had Amanda-Clearcreek. Wow, but don't worry, if you need some redemption, just vote on our Instagram story every Friday morning. Y'all got another chance tonight with the Crooksville and Riverview game. the majority of you had Crooksville with, what's it say, 83%. So let's see how you guys did. But before we get into the highlights and breakdown of this game, we got to talk to my man Andrew Bowlby about what's been going on in Crooksville.
Yeah, Donovan, Crooksville has been a program stuck in constant change over the past 5 years. There's been a parade of coaches in and out of the program, and that's led to a lack of stability and a lack of wins for this program. If you look at where this team is in comparison to everybody else in the MVL Small, well, you're going to see a stark difference. 4 head coaches in the 2020s for the Crooksville Ceramics. That's been very difficult. That's double what everybody else has had. You see Maysville, Meadowbrook, both with 2 head coaches, and then, of course, the other 3 schools in the small, Coshocton, New Lex, Westham, all with just 1 in the 2020s. So what does that mean for this year? It means a new era begins, the Marcus Pardon-Dudash era. 2-0 to start his tenure, and he's got his team averaging 25 points per game. That's the highest since 2019 for this program. And if there's one thing you need to know about this guy, it's that he is a culture builder. He wants everybody to be built in. And when I talked to him earlier this week, he said that his team is right where they need to be ahead of week 3.
We're excited. I think we're where we need to be in terms of what's important. You know, our mentality and our culture. I think it's helped us. I've had many people tell me, you know, especially after our first game in years past, we had lost that game once we were down at halftime. And just to see the kids respond and come back positive after halftime has been huge.
And out to Ceramic Stadium, where Coach Marcus Pardon-Dudash leads his team out to begin a new era of ceramics football in Crooksville. And we'll see that Crooksville offense quickly. After a blocked punt, Brayson Hill on just the second offensive play walks into the end zone untouched. 11-yard score gets the Ceramics out to a 6-0 lead. Let's go to the second Crooksville series. This time Hill is going to air the ball out to his guy, Eli Sprankle. That's a 47-yard score, and the Ceramics are rolling up 13-0 in the first, and Coach is loving his offense. Over to Riverview, and this might just be the play of the night. McGuire Lawrence with a backwards pass to Jeremiah Kaku, and then a dime to Hayden Spinks, who was off and running. He's finally pulled down, but not before a 70-yard gain. Ceramics defense stood tall and ultimately got the stop. So how about some more Crooksville offense with Hill leading the charge? Gets a block on his way to a 33-yard touchdown. Ceramics up 20-zip. Let's flash forward to the end of the first half. Black Bears looking for something, but they aren't going to find it here. Gage Love finds his ball over his shoulder, picks it off. A couple plays later, and Love is going to be in the end zone on a deep ball. This is Hill's 5th TD of the first half and 11th of the season. Ceramics roll on this one and finally get that home MVL win, 48-0. Post-game, Coach Pardon-Dudash on his team's culture.
See these kids come out here and do things the right way and start to try to establish some culture, love each other. We got kids correcting each other out here. We got guys going to pull guys out of bad situations. That is what matters to me, whether we won or lost the game. When we start to see that stuff, it's a positive thing.
Now, this is a team and a community that is fully bought into this program. Everybody in Crooksville is believing in what's happening right now, and that is huge for what's to come. You look at this schedule. They haven't had an MBL small win since 2020. What an opportunity to do it next week against Meadowbrook. They are only a 1-point underdog according to Fantastic 50. They're also favored over Coshocton later in the season in October. Of course, you can't forget about that new Lexington rivalry in Week 9. Tough schedule, but a chance to get wins. And I'll give you one more stat for New Lexington, or for Crooksville rather. They have not won 5 games since 2015, an opportunity to do that this season. And Donovan, next week's game against Meadowbrook, it is a huge game for this ceramics program, and I'm certainly looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll have our eyes on that one for sure. Thanks, Bowlby. But now over in the TVC Hawking, the Eastern Eagles are flying high on a 10-game win streak against the South Gallia Rebels. And joining me now with the scoop on that one is Jack Zwizinski.
Yeah, thanks, Donovan. This was a huge game for both teams, as South Gallia hasn't won against Eastern since 2015, and Eastern hasn't started below 4-0 since they hired coach Jason Jackson. This game featured a head-to-head battle between two powerhouses in Eastern's Ethan Edwards and South Gallia's Judah Cremines. Edwards has accounted for 264 rushing yards, 34 receiving yards, and 5 touchdowns for 30 points for this Eagles team in just 2 weeks. Rebel Judah Cremines recorded 9 rushing yards, 218 receiving yards, and 4 touchdowns for 24 points for South Gallia in the same time. South Gallia hosted the Eastern Eagles as the Rebels started with the ball and immediately got to business as Rebel quarterback Hunter Wright scrambles and pushes through contact for a 25-yard gain. Jumping ahead a bit on their next drive, Hunter Wright does it himself, taking the ball, quick stop, spin through contact, and dives for the end zone. Rebels up 6-0. The Eagles wouldn't let that slide as running back Parker Durst returns the kick and turns on the Jets for a massive gain, setting Eastern in Rebel territory, taking it to South Gallia's 44-yard line and setting them up for this next play. Ethan Edwards gets the ball and pushes through Rebel after Rebel and goes down right after a 30-yard gain. Next snap, the Eagles give Ethan Edwards the ball, and he pushes through South Gallia in an angry run to hit the end zone. The extra point is good, and Eastern goes up 7-6 halfway through the first. Now, jumping ahead to about halfway through the second quarter, the Rebels are making their way down the field and get into Eagle territory before they give senior running back Lane Wright the ball as he pushes around and slips through, diving straight through an Eagle to go up 14-7. With 20 seconds left to go in the half, Eastern gets the ball and starts speeding down the field, making sure to get out of bounds. Braxton Yonker puts the ball up to Colton Lloyd through double coverage, and he manages to come down with it as he rolls into the end zone to tie it up 14-14 going into the half. The Rebels took this game 22-21 in overtime tonight.
Wow, a thriller. I mean, just from what we saw, it seemed like things were starting off a little slow, but they must have gotten hot pretty quick.
Yeah, each team really got started in their second drive of the game. It started off defense heavy as these teams just got smothered.
So, Jack, both South Gallia and Eastern have had solid run games. Did they just get off to a slow start, or, like you mentioned, was it the defenses?
Donovan, these defenses got cracking immediately. They just smothered whoever had the ball at any time. The run games eventually were established, but it took some real shiftiness from these backs to get going.
Yeah, Eastern and South Gallia feature some dangerous backfields. Who was active on the ground tonight?
Hunter and Lane Wright did their thing for the Rebels tonight. These brothers were flying all over the field tonight. Senior quarterback Hunter Wright had the Rebels' first touchdown, while senior running back Lane Wright really got active in that second quarter, fighting in for their second touchdown. Eastern's run game also started heating up with some big plays from senior running back Ethan Edwards and sophomore running back Parker Durst, setting each other up to catch back up every time South Gallia was able to pull ahead.
So both teams had a 1-2 rushing combo, and seems like they utilized them pretty heavily.
As if there were any other way. The ball didn't go up into the air until about halfway through the second, with more passes being thrown from Eastern in the last 20 seconds of the half than there were from both teams in the entire first half.
Wow.
The Rebels prepare to host Wahama next week, while Eastern gets ready to face off against Federal Hocking.
Wow, okay. Well, blank slate for both teams next week. Thanks, Jack. Appreciate it. Well, 5 Showtime games isn't the only action you get to see this week. For more breakdowns, check out our Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, X, and TikTok accounts for additional content every week. Also be sure to check out the pregame huddle on Thursdays and Fridays for game previews of all of our Showtime games. But don't forget our digital games too. And that brings us to our next segment, the Extra Point. And finally joining me for this week's installation is our digital host, Josh Herner. Josh, welcome to the Extra Point, buddy.
Donna, thanks so much for having me. And you know what? We got so much action this week. Let's do this one together, shall we?
Let's do it, man. All right, so we're going to start right in Circleville and with the Circleville and Westfall game. And it's Hawaiian night in the Westfall student section. They're hyped, but Circleville's doing all the celebrating.
Yeah, there's Ray Easel, and he's got a lot of green ahead of him. The defender ain't catching him, and that'll be the first of 3 Tiger rushing touchdowns in the first half.
Westfall's turn to get going, and how about a jump ball? Looks like both guys have it. Josh, I can't tell.
And they rule it a catch for the offense, and next play, they punch it in. Eli Wright slips through the defense for the score.
After a 21-21 game at half, Circleville takes this one 42-35. And our next game takes us over to Valley for an SOC-SVC matchup.
And our first big play of the night comes on the ground. Anthony Aaron takes the handoff outside and gets moving.
Shakes one defender and is giving me prime Adrian Peterson flashbacks in that purple and gold.
Yeah, the ground game got them going, but it was through the air where they get their first score. Aiden Spang is wide open up the middle and walks in for 6.
Their next score was so long we only caught the end of it, but Valley took this one 24-7.
And next up, we've got Minford and Beaver Eastern, and you're going to see the refs right here before the game.
Yeah, there they are having a little chat before the game, but let's see their call during the game. Eric Manley takes the snap and finds Robert Webb on the sidelines, and he must be Webb like Spider-Man because look at those hands.
Half the length of the field all the way to the house for the score, 7-0 Eagles.
Later, the Falcon offense had to do some one-upping, of course.
Eastern with a 50-yarder like you just saw, but Minford's going to go 57 yards. A little screen pass and some good blocks is all it takes.
Yeah, and some wheels, too. Minford ties it up there, but Beaver Eastern takes it in a shootout, 48-42.
Moving over to a cross-divisional MVL matchup, we got Maysville hosting Philo, and Electric's QB Jack Lincecum is the guy who opens the scoring in this game. QB keeper from 5 yards out gives Philo the 7-0 lead.
Well, Philo's offense had some spark, and, well, so did their defense, Josh. What looks like a drop pass is actually caught. You're going to see it right here, and...
Yeah, but it's by the other team. Cade Rock's pass is picked off, but later, the Panthers' offense would get another shot.
Cade Rock, again, with the rod and a dot up the seam. That's a 40-yard score, but Philo will secure the victory 38-21.
And our final game of the night takes us to Grove City Christian, where the Eagles are hosting Mount Gilead.
Yeah, and Mount Gilead takes the cap off of this one. Watch how high and far he gets this one going, and that's how you get a game started. Ball goes up, and Hayden Summerlot comes down all the way in for 6. Maybe a little puddle in the end zone, but it's still good.
But the Eagles wouldn't take too long to respond. GCC moving down the field quickly, and watch this.
Nasty pump fake from quarterback Douglas Housley, and he's going to finish off with a 12-yard touchdown and a nice scramble tie ball game.
And we're going to see Housley through the air again, this time with a beautiful dot, but that won't be enough as Mount Gilead wins this one, 21-7. Now that's all we have for the extra point this week, but make sure you stay tuned to our social media to recap all the action we have.
That's right. Glad you could join me this week. Finally, Josh.
Thanks so much for having me, Donovan.
But before we check out the highlights from our game of the week, I want to show you some of the pregame action from Jackson. The fans showed out, as always. Take a look at this week's Fans of the Week.
Spotted. Oski. I just got a couple pregame questions for the man. I mean, welcome back. Mascot's back. How does it feel? Man, very few words. Very few words. Hold on, check out the fit. You like it? Yeah, I love it, actually.
I said, I bet you I can pancake you.
You think you can pancake me? Oh, I'm shed. Oh, I can shed that easy, right? Oh my gosh, these kids are clowning me. Oh.
Yeah, that's it.
Wheelersburg! Let's go, Bird! Oh, I'm dying for this. I live for this. Let's go, Braylon Rucker, Kenyon Evans, Brian Meeker. Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! They're not ready. They're not ready.
I don't know who let that kid get an eagle costume, but they did good.
I ate before this.
Okay, what was for dinner?
Mac and cheese.
Bro, I had mac and cheese for dinner. I literally did. I had dinner with him.
This is my twin.
Twin. She's carrying her cousin right now. Why are you carrying your cousin?
Because I can.
Honestly, my cousin hasn't carried me in years. I really wish my cousin would carry me around. Is this hard?
No.
You're strong. You look pretty strong.
I'm on TV.
I can't believe you're letting her carry you. Her head almost scraped the concrete. Yeah, Jackson, how we feeling? How we feeling, Jackson? Not much to say. Okay.
Yeah, I had a great time with all the Berg and Jackson fans at our Game of the Week. And speaking of Game of the Week, I think it's time I take you guys into this matchup. 2 storied programs led by 2 storied head coaches, and nobody knows it better than these two, all right? Ty Carpenter and Grant Kiefer join me for the breakdown.
Yeah, you hit on it, Donovan. You know, Woodward and Hall have been at their schools for nearly 2 decades now. They're pretty familiar with each other.
Yeah, this match was really competitive year in, year out. And not only have they been doing this for a while, but the numbers look pretty similar in that time frame as well. Hey, tons of conference titles between the two, lots of wins, but there's one thing Woodward has that Hall doesn't.
Yeah, you know, Grant, the conference titles are nice and all, but Woodward, he gets to flex that state title he had in 2017. And, you know, speaking about 2017, how about a little flashback here? They played each other that year. Look at this trophy right here. And just like this season, they were both undefeated heading into that matchup.
Yeah, they were both 4-0 entering the matchup in a Week 5 game. Berg would end up blowing out Jackson 38-14 at Alumni Stadium. And, you know, as we mentioned, as we alluded to, Pirates go on to win the state title while the Ironmen would lose in round 1 of the playoffs. So the question is, can Berg flash it back tonight?
So big win back then for Berg, obviously. But heading into this, there were some questions at QB, but it's Rucker with the start.
Yeah, of course, Donovan, and this is a chance for Berg to prove themselves, but unfortunately that drive's cut short with a fumble here.
Yeah, Jackson's going to have great starting field position. Here they are with the big boys out on the field, and Gavin Seitz will punch it in for the early score. However, you're not going to see a lot of that from the Ironmen tonight.
Yeah, of course not, Grant, but they're playing from behind here. But this Pirates team, they're pretty feisty. How about play action from Rucker finding Brady Doss all by himself? Little bobble there, but the catch is complete for the long tutty, tied up 7-7.
Hold off on the scoring for a little bit here, Ty. Fast forward, second quarter. Here's Rucker in the backfield, gets stripped by Charlie Woodard, and here comes Jackson.
And here comes Simons deep into Berg territory, or maybe not. He's met up the middle for another fumble, and that one is going back to the Pirates. So this game is moving a little bit slow, so Elijah Brown is thinking, let's get this thing rolling with a much-needed long run here. How about a spark plug in the second half? And now here into the red zone, stuffed just short right there, 4th and 1. But 4 tries is all they're going to need as Stephen Hull barrels his way in. And just like that, Berg is up 14-7. Here comes the momentum shift.
Yeah, it shifted indeed. Jackson's offense was quiet in the second half. More on that later. Here's Cooper Heinbach showing off the leg to go up 2 scores. The Ironman with another chance to get back in it. But here comes the Pirate pass rush, taking him down on 4th down.
Yeah, and here it is late in the 4th. Braylon Rucker, he's smartly going to take the sack here, but the Pirates burn most of the clock and win a low-scoring affair, 17-7.
Wow, so a low-scoring one. Both of these teams have, pretty experienced offenses, so maybe not what we'd expect.
Yeah, 2 pretty experienced quarterbacks against 2 strong defenses. It was interesting to watch how they faced off.
Yeah, 2 3-year starters. They both started a little bit slow for their standards. Running the ball was key tonight. Defenses were stout at every level on both sides, but not even a combined 200 yards through the air for these guys.
Yeah, definitely a slower night for both of these two, but I think that's more a testament to these defenses. More on that coming in just a sec.
Right, so Ty, you just mentioned a little bit of a slower night for those guys, but get more into it. Why? What happened there?
Yeah, so we saw last week Doer. He came in late last week against McNick, and early in this game too, aside from the 41-yard bomb to Doss, Rucker started a little slow again. Now he settled in quick, and he led another touchdown drive into the second. He took his yards and his checkdowns. That's winning football.
Yeah, and on the other side, it was a tough night for quarterback Bodie Wolford. Offensive line had their hands full with this Wheelersburg pass rush. They didn't really have a ton of time to pass. Wheelersburg came in well prepared and knew what Jackson was running seemingly every play.
Yeah, you talked about it there. These defenses were looking pretty solid tonight.
Yeah, and that's the name of the game, Donovan. It's the trenches. Berg forced a lot of fumbles, and that kept Jackson off the scoreboard late.
Yeah, stark difference between last week and this week for Jackson. Jackson scored 50 points against Gallia, and they controlled the game and the tempo against Little Miami. Credit to Wheelersburg, though. That's a state title contender on defense. Not sure if Jackson's going to be able to see a better pair of defensive tackles all year.
Right, and great, like you mentioned, great defenses, of course, but Berg seemed to find their stride a little late. What was clicking?
Yeah, the defense allowed no first downs into the third quarter, and they got that late interception to ice it for the Pirates. And leading up to that interception, Rucker led a long drive, taking out most of the fourth quarter. Exceptional runs iced it for the Pirates. And looking at the big picture here, Berg is loving this remaining schedule. 3-0 after a non-con gauntlet with reigning state champs Ironton on the horizon. They had a little scare versus McNick tonight in an SOC schedule they swept last year.
Yeah, their finish must be looking pretty good compared to that 6-4 record you mentioned last season. Tough loss all around here for Jackson. There's some tough games left on the schedule with plenty of chances to capture quality wins. These Jackson seniors told me that beating Ironton's a huge goal this year. All right, guys, bit of a setback for Ironton tonight. Can't feel amazing about the low-scoring loss. Should be able to bounce back next week against Western Brown, though.
And Bergs, they're feeling pretty good heading into SOC play next week.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. Thank you, guys. Now, it's time for my favorite part of the show. We went out to a lot of football games today, and we saw a lot of good plays. After some deliberation, here are the top 5. Let's check out our top plays. This very first one comes from right down the street in Bookville. Nelsonville, York hosted Colegrove, and Cam Sullivan hits Walker Stone with the screen pass to get some momentum. Stone is a fitting last name because this guy was like a wall, impenetrable. Some spins, shedding blocks, and he just makes it look easy. That'll play for the Buckeyes, but 4 comes from Eastern South Gallia. This guy with the ball, yeah, he's a quarterback, and just watch how he moves. Just a smooth sidestep, and then he decides to lower his shoulder, dives on in for the score. My goodness, that's how you do it. And our third play may seem a bit familiar, but you just saw it on the extra point. Mount Gilead's offense just absolutely lets it fly, and that thing is in the air for a minute, but Hayden Summerlot, give me that. Nice grab. The slip doesn't matter because he's already got 6. And they just keep getting better. Okay, number 2 is from Crooksville and Riverview. Bowlby talked about it earlier, but a backwards pass and then heaves it to over multiple defenders. Hayden spinks. Got it, and he's going. Half of the coaching staff running with him down the sidelines. He doesn't quite make it to the end zone, but the trickery was just too good to not show. Finally, our top play. Our staff said this one was a no-brainer, and I can see why. Jevin Hoxtel against the entire P-West defense. Down goes one guy right by two others, and a dive in for the score. Sheesh, bro, that's what I call taking matters into your own hands. And with that, our show comes to a close. 3 weeks down already, and things are just getting started. We'll see you here next Friday, because there's nothing better than Friday nights in Gridiron Glory.
Support comes from Dean Heating and Cooling, keeping homes cool all summer with Tempstar. Dean Heating and Cooling provides HVAC service and installation in the Athens area, featuring Tempstar quality you can feel. Additional support from Donato's Pizza, featuring pizza, subs, salads, and catering from their Athens location at 688 East State Street. Information at donatospizza.com or 740-592-5049. Support comes from O'Neill Hartman Insurance, a full-service, third-generation, locally owned agency focusing on building personal relationships and providing professional service to individuals and businesses. Information on the web and on Facebook. Support comes from Ohio's 529 College Advantage, helping families save tax-free for college and career training nationwide for 35 years. Information on Ohio's 529 can be found at collegeadvantage.com/Bobcats.
You are watching WOUB TV in Athens and WOUC TV in Cambridge.